You're listening to the Team Stripes podcast.
Live from the bubble in Toronto. Just kidding. This is the Team Stripes podcast. What's going on, Brenden? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty well. Hockey's back. I've been watching it for 12 hours a day now, I think for 3 days. Lots of action, and, I mean, nothing wrong with that. How are you?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. It's been nonstop hockey, and we're actually both, I think, sitting here watching the end of the
Chicago-Edmonton game.
Yeah, Oilers and Blackhawks. It looks like McDavid's got a hat trick. They're up 6-3, going to tie this series up after their game one didn't really go so well. So it's definitely been great watching hockey. And obviously with hockey back, we got some other stuff to talk about. There's been a lot of craziness, a lot of high hits, a lot of just shenanigans. I know there have been a few fights. We had a spear at the bench in the Vancouver, Minnesota game. A lot to talk about before we get into the interview section of the podcast. So where do we start? You want to start with that spear?
I was going to say, I think we have to start with the spear. For anybody that did not watch, Furland for Vancouver got tied up somehow by the Minnesota bench, and somebody grabbed onto his stick. I'm not sure who. And in response, absolutely jabbed a guy right in the stomach. And the only things to come out of that was 4-on-4, as he was assessed a 2-minute minor for slashing, and somebody on the Minnesota Wild bench had to serve the bench penalty for interference. The NHL decided not to suspend him, but fined him the $5,000 that's allowed under the CBA.
Okay.
Thoughts on the spear?
Yeah, like it's just what a weird thing. Like I'm sitting here watching the clip on a loop, and holy cow, like he got him good. I'm not really sure as far as like I see the back referee where his position was and whatever. I mean, it's one of those things like, we got to have our radar or our antennas up, so to speak, when we see a player at the opposite team's bench there. So I don't know. I wouldn't say, I mean, maybe they missed it, maybe they didn't. It's just a weird situation, and that's something that, as an official, you definitely got to, at least one guy on the ice has to be watching that bench when you got a player standing there, because you never know if something like that could happen or is going to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say in USA Hockey, Hockey Canada, youth hockey, that is a 5-game minimum. No matter what, you could probably start tickling with a match penalty. But I think for the most part, it'd be a 5-game in USA and Hockey Canada. Obviously, the NHL, they do things differently. They're the pros. We're not going to be able to know what he saw, what they didn't see.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to jump in and criticize or anything,
Obviously not.
It's just one of those situations like, did that really just happen in an NHL game?
Yeah, I think that's kind of everybody's reaction off that one.
Yeah, that's just one of those things like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then I guess we need to roll into this hit on Justin Williams in the
in the Rangers game?
Carolina game.
That game started with a bang. That was the first, I guess, real hockey game. And I mean that was a whole parade to the penalty box.
These guys are right back in the thick of it. Like it took all of 5 minutes in each game for everyone to realize, hey, we're here to play for the Stanley Cup, so it's go time.
Yeah, I think in the first 3 minutes of the Carolina Rangers game, we had a goal, 2 big hits, one for either team, and then a fight all within the first 3 minutes. And if that doesn't get you back into hockey,
welcome back to hockey, boys.
But I mean, there was two big hits that I know of, and the clip that I have was on Justin Williams,
Mhm.
And for anybody that wants to go look at the clip, they all are on Twitter under Go Team Stripes. It's a weird hit, in my opinion.
I mean, my first look at it, I mean, it's kind of hard not to give a major on that hit.
Just because he hit head first?
Yeah. Like, what ended up being the call on that play?
From my recollection, there was nothing. We can go back really quick and check.
Yeah,
I think it went unpenalized. Obviously, we're looking at it in slow motion, which makes our lives 1,000 times easier.
Hold on. Summary. Where's my freaking good old TSN with no penalties summary? Whatever. Okay. Anywho, yeah, I mean, obviously we're getting to see it in slow motion from different angles, and we don't, on the ice, we only get to see it once in real time.
Yeah, so there was nothing for the hit.
Okay, nothing for the hit. Okay, well, I guess that's a hit like in youth hockey if we're seeing that. Obviously, 100% that's getting called.
Yeah, at least 210.
Yeah.
Because he got up, like he wasn't injured. Definitely at least a 210 for head contact in USA Hockey. I believe Hockey Canada was talking to the guy we're actually going to interview today, and he said they either have a minor, a double minor, or a 5 in game.
Gotcha.
So I don't know what you would call in Hockey Canada standards, but definitely down here, I mean, you're looking at easy 210.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on the safe side of that.
Yeah.
Again, obviously, pro hockey is a little different. The standard's a little different. So.
And it's the playoffs.
Yeah. So then we got to talk about this Matt Tkachuk Scheifele hit or whatever, where Tkachuk kind of put him in the boards funny.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was just a funny play. Like, stuff like that happens on the ice. Obviously, there's no call on the play. It looked worse
than what it was.
It looks bad, but it's just a play where they're both going to the sideboards, digging for the puck, and he goes in the boards funny. Like,
yeah, I was watching it live, and I mean, like, when he went into the boards, I thought, when Tkachuk went to finish the hit, I thought like he like crumpled his knee or twisted an ankle or something like that, and then obviously the slow-mo replay, you can see Tkachuk go to stop, his skate jump, and then unfortunately go into the back of Scheifele's leg, which, I mean, nobody ever wants to see, but you had two officials looking straight at it. Neither of them called a penalty. There was no penalty.
Yeah, there's no penalty there. It's just one of those. Stuff like that happens in hockey. It's an unfortunate accident. Is really what it boils down to.
And we got to see the first major penalty reviewed in the Florida-Carolina game, or not Florida and New York game, the Islanders. Original call on the ice was a major, and they reviewed it. They realized that he did hit him in the chest, and it was brought down to a minor penalty. I think that was pretty cool. I like that
it's
because
definitely nice to see them get that right.
Yeah, I mean,
have the option to look at it again. Just got a high stick in the Oilers-Chicago game.
Ooh. But no, you're fine. I think it's a good thing that they implemented. We see it in NCAA D1 or any NCAA hockey. I know they can review major penalties. Yep. I think that's awesome. The only downside is I feel like it takes forever. But I mean, at least we're getting the call right.
Like if we're going to use the tool, we got to get the call right.
Exactly. I agree 100%. What did you think? This was back in the exhibition. Ryan Reeves elbowed to the head of a Phoenix player the NHL came out and said it was unavoidable. Looking at it in live, like, speed of play, I didn't think there was any penalty to be had until, again, slow-mo replay comes in.
That's just another weird one. Like, I'm sitting here watching it on loop, and I can see where they said it's unavoidable at full speed. Like, he's coming in to line him up. It looks like he's gonna attempt to make a good play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Phoenix player just kind of turns into him, and it's just like an oh shit moment. So yeah, I have no problem with that.
I agree.
In slow motion, it looks way worse than what it actually was. So
yeah, we tweeted out that clip, and I mean, it looks a lot worse than what it was. But I mean, it wasn't that bad. What do you think of just the overall atmosphere of the games, though, with no fans? You think they're doing a good job?
I think they've done such a great job on the production. The little bit of like faux crowd noise that they're pumping in, thank you EA Sports, has been great. I've definitely enjoyed it. It's been fun to watch. The boys are just like, it's a minor hockey tournament. It really is. That's what it feels like. It's like a minor or a beer league tournament that's going on that just happens to be playing for the most important trophy in all of hockey.
Yeah. So I think they've done a great job.
I think the NHL had to, like, just round of applause, standing ovation, whatever other cliche you want to say. I think they've nailed it. They've done such a great job. The arenas look great. The presentation looks great with the home team audio, and like today the Lightning played the Capitals, so they had their anthem singer singing the anthem and the whole bit. So well done, NHL. Kudos. It's definitely been great to watch, and honestly, I really want to see what ratings are doing. But
same. I think we have to give a major hats off though to the ice crew for these guys, because apparently they're changing the advertisements on the boards in between games for the home team.
Oh, really? I haven't even realized that.
So, like, today, Calgary was home against Winnipeg, and so on the dashers that you can see from the broadcast angle, apparently they're changing the ads every game, so it would – advertisements that you would see at a Calgary game in Calgary are on the boards.
Oh, wow.
So they're not only maintaining ice.
That's excessive.
They're now changing boards, and it's something like that I mean, nobody's gonna notice unless you're intently watching. But I saw some reporter came out with that tweet, and I was like, that is insane.
That's, in my opinion, that's excessive. But
I mean, I love it, but that's insane.
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure.
I think they're doing a great job with production. I think the exhibition games I felt were a little – I think the production side of it was getting it out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, I think the only thing they're missing is, especially in Dallas, whenever Jamie Benn or Tyler Seguin are rushing down the ice, everybody starts screaming for no reason. It could be a 5-on-1, and everybody will start screaming, and then they'll miss the net.
You mean a 1-on-5?
Oh, yeah. And they'll miss the net by 10, 15 feet, and everybody's oohing and awing.
They're not gonna get it 100% right, but it's still been a pleasure to watch.
It's been a blast. It's nice. So, it's 100 degrees outside, and we're watching hockey. I mean, what's better than that?
Being in the stands,
wow.
Paying for a $14 beer. Oh man!
But I think with that, I think it's time to go to our interview.
Yes. Otherwise, we could sit here and talk the rest of the night and not get the interview in this episode.
Exactly, which would not be good. And so our interview is one of my friends. His name's Jacob Headley. He lives up in the Washington area. He's actually the president of his organization. And so without further ado, we'll send it over to him. On today's episode of the podcast, we have one of my best friends, lives up in Spokane, Washington. He is the president of the Inland Empire Hockey Association. He worked anything from the BCHL, and he works everything in between for youth hockey. Welcome to the show, Headley.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Welcome on.
Headley, we're just going to jump right into it. You're a younger guy, and you're already a president of a hockey association. How?
Not by my choice. So I want to say like when I was 16 or 17, I was on the board and then held a couple other positions, vice president and something else, I'm sure. But 2 years ago, I was voted president. We didn't have anyone else that wanted to do it, so I was like, well, someone's got to do it, and here we are. It'd be re-election season, but this whole COVID thing has kind of put a kink in that, so I don't know. We'll figure something out.
As president, what all do you do for or within the organization?
It kind of started as a whole lot of nothing. We had just kind of smooth sailing, not much going on. But this last season, we implemented some new things. I started making sure we had some good mentors coming in for the new kids and making sure they actually started to do things, which kind of got pushed under the rug for a couple of years. And then we started doing some monthly training sessions that myself and the head of our mentorship program put on each month to kind of help guys do something besides just skate all season and kind of use it as a learning opportunity and just kind of build some camaraderie within the association. But it's a lot of working with the hockey associations that we ref for and making sure all the kids coming up are knowing what to do and making sure they're getting some games supervised and evaluated and hopefully teaching them something.
So then with this mentor program, like what do you do? Because I know a lot of us now are facing an issue of how do we keep young officials, how do we train them to be better, and how are you training the next group of officials?
Yeah, so for our association, and this started way back before I ever started, but if it's your first year, whether you're 12 or 60, you can sign up to be a part of the mentor program. And what it does is it just pairs you up with an older, more experienced official who's going to be by your side from that first seminar on, whether that's helping you with your open book test, now modules, making sure you get everything pushed through to get registered, get some equipment on so you can skate, and then they'll be out there and they'll shadow you for your first game or 2 or 3, depending on how confident they are in your abilities after that first game. And then they're going to be right by your side more or less your entire first season, whether it's supervising you at your games or being on ice working with you for those games. And then some of them turn into your best friends and you still work with them 8 years later. But that's kind of our whole goal, is build relationships and make sure the young guys at least have fun with it and do their best. And we want to put them in the best situations to where they can succeed.
So that's pretty awesome that you guys do that. We're in the process of trying to get that going down here in Tampa with our younger officials. What kind of help are you guys getting from like your senior guys? Are there a lot of guys on board? Has there been some pushback from some other guys? Like, what's the feedback been from like the senior guys helping out with the younger guys?
I've never had any problems with it. Like I said, it was kind of put into place well before I ever started reffing.
Oh, so okay, gotcha.
It's been one of those things that's just what you do.
So with all the steps that you guys take, has it helped your ability to keep and retain officials? Like,
absolutely.
Do you think? Yeah. So you think you're definitely holding on to more guys than you would if it was, here's your rule book, here's your crest, go have fun.
Absolutely. And I think it really shows there was just a couple of years after I started to probably 2 or 3 years ago, that there was a span where it kind of went downhill and the mentorship program wasn't nearly as strong as what it had been. And I think you definitely see that now in a gap of kids from their early 20s down to their 16-year-olds. There's not too many of those aged kids in our association, and I think it directly relates to that.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, obviously, across the board, whether it's hockey or any other sport, we're having a hard time, keeping referees, especially with, the world we live in with how people are and yelling at the referees and with the parents and the coaches and whatnot. I know you mentioned the shadow program and like having like supervisions and stuff. Does that maybe help mitigate a little bit of that yelling and screaming, and then like, because you got that senior guy there helping them out?
Yep, absolutely. And I think that is a huge part of it. And then I try and always make sure that if we have two young guys working together, that there's someone senior in the building watching, supervising, or just hanging back in case something were to happen, to be a voice there to tell them, hey, let's not do that.
That's definitely a good way to go about it. I remember like when I started, it was kind of hit and miss. Here's your rule book, here's your crest, go figure it out. I mean, I definitely, we've all had our mentors and our help along the way, but it's definitely something now that we really need to focus on, just because of the retention issue that we do have.
And I will say we've been pretty lucky. One of our former officials, a guy that worked the Western Hockey League for ages and has done some of everything, he's now the disciplinary director for the Spokane Amateur Youth Hockey Association. So him and I have worked very side by side on making sure we find a way to keep these instances from happening, and when they do happen, find a way to educate the parents. And it helps that Denny LaRue is the president of the youth hockey association here in Spokane, so he sees the side as well.
Yeah,
we've been lucky in terms of having their support for a lot of instances, but at the same time, it's kind of nice because it holds us very accountable for a lot of things.
Yeah, we're definitely lucky here as well. The guy that runs statewide Sayhoff or whatever here in Florida, he's a former referee, and he doesn't have a kid in it. Like, he's there, he's doing the job because he enjoys it. And having worn that referee hat for as long as he did, it has certainly helped with dealing with those issues as they arise, because it happens, and there's nothing worse than a young referee getting yelled at and then not wanting to do it anymore.
So with the mentor program, you obviously went to Western Futures. That's where we met. Is that something that you're trying to like push kids kind of towards to and get them ready for?
Yeah. So kind of my whole view on coming in to the presidency and reffing for a couple of years before that, is my whole thing is I want to make sure that anyone, young or old, they get to the level they want to. That could be a 50-year-old guy saying, hey, I just want to work one college game. Figuring out a way to get him to that level to be able to go on the lines for a college game, if that's what his goal is. Or whether it's the 14-year-old kid that's all about it, can't ref enough, let's send you somewhere. Let's send you to state meet. Let's see how you do. Let's throw you in some tournaments. Let's see how you do. Because they're not going to be able to move up anywhere or figure out if they really like it until they're thrown into those situations. So we had a couple kids that have definitely prospects for futures camps or camps like that. We had a couple kids get invited to a WHL camp that they put on, the top U.S. prospects or something. It was over in Seattle in March, but they unfortunately couldn't make those because they were already committed to the state tournament. So, hate to see it, but.
So with Western Futures or just the futures camps, like for somebody that doesn't know that somebody wants to go, like how would you describe it? What goes on?
I had no idea about it when I went. I got an email from our referee in chief. He was like, hey, you should go to this. And I was like, what is it? What?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's just this camp. And I was like, What do you mean it's just this camp? Like, I'm gone for a week in Colorado Springs, but just apply to it, and I think you'll get in and you'll enjoy it. And I was like, okay. And then I get there, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this is not quite just a camp, but I think we had quite a time there. But so to bring that experience back, I can now tell these kids coming up, hey, this is something you could work for and look towards, and it's something that's going to help you gain a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge that elsewhere you just probably wouldn't ever find.
What was your favorite part about that camp?
Because
there was a lot of good times.
I mean, for the sake of reffing, just probably watching the instructors fight on a daily basis, especially when it came to who was going to coach power skating.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's always fun, eh?
I'm just glad you didn't say when I rolled my ankle running.
I mean, that was up there. Bobo. That kid, yeah, we had a lot of characters.
So, living in the U.S. and working in Canada in the BCHL and Junior B, how does that work with rule books? Do you just know all of them, or? Yeah, so in Spokane, the Youth Hockey Association here, all their rep teams, for the most part, play in the West Kootenay League. So they play the majority of the Canadian teams in our area, I guess, that are close to us north of the border. So we know the BC rulebook, or at least we're supposed to. I would say most guys do, in and out, just for youth itself, because that's probably 33% of the games we work. And now even the house teams are starting to play in that, so it's all over the place. But then for Junior B, obviously it's the same rule book, but with the Junior B supplement to it. And then the BCHL had its own Junior A rule book. But yeah, it's a weird spot to be in geographically, but well, you make do.
So do you ever cross the border and go work games up in Canada?
The year I worked in the BCHL, they wanted me to the next season, but I started off with an injury that season and then just never got put on the schedule.
So, oh, okay, gotcha.
But they
do any of your guys that do like maybe some of the youth hockey or whatever go up there and like kind of do both, or is it just?
Yeah,
no? Okay. I wasn't sure how that would work out.
No, it's some sort of insurance thing. I think for us to work games up there, we have to go to a clinic up there.
Oh, okay. So you'd have to get your Hockey Canada deal. Okay. Yeah. So you'd have to, kind of like they would have to come here and get USA Hockey certified. Okay. Makes sense. I was never quite sure how that actually worked.
At least that's what I've been told. I don't know. That could be a complete lie, but
yeah. Fair enough, right? Cool. Let's see.
I'm curious what work in the BC was like.
Oh, dude, it was a blast. It's so much easier to work those levels of hockey because they're good players and they know what they're doing, and you can anticipate what's going to happen, and you're not getting pucks shot at you constantly.
Oh, yep.
And there's actually fighting sometimes. Really weird thing. So as a linesman, that's great. Love it.
Oh, yeah. That's the best part about being a linesman, front row to fights.
And it's big barns. Okay. Yep. And the best locker room I've ever had, Wenatchee, Washington. Tell you what, they got 2 sofas and a TV in there. It is fantastic.
Yep, that's we had a sofa in Columbus, Georgia, when I was working the SB. It was fantastic. Come in between periods, just lay down on the sofa. Yep. That's good times.
So besides, just youth and beer hockey, what is there in Seattle to work? Is there college, NCAA,
Seattle's got everything, but Seattle likes their own people for the most part. But they have Western states over there. But east side of the state, we have Wenatchee for the BCHL, and then we have Spokane and Tri-Cities both have WHL teams. So we have 3 guys in our association that work that, a couple guys in Tri-Cities that work that. And they kind of go back and forth between Spokane and Tri-Cities, depending on where they put them as their home base based on numbers. But then we have, obviously everything mites to midgets to beer league. And then We have in Cheney, where I actually live right now until August, Eastern Washington University has a Division II ACHA team that they've really built that program to something. Those games are always fun. They were actually the second highest attended sport on campus last year, only behind football.
That's pretty impressive for a club hockey team.
Exactly, yeah. So that's been fun. They used to have a team. They used to have two teams. They had their ACHA team and then a BCIHL team, the British Columbia Intercollegiate Hockey League or something. So they played a bunch of guys that played in the WHL and were using their scholarships up north.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah, because they can play in college.
Yep.
In Canadian college, or CIS, I think is what it's called.
Or U Sports or whatever.
Yeah, it was great to see some of those guys come and play down. Eastern never had much of a chance.
Ever. Oh, I'm sure.
But just to see the skill from the other teams, it was awesome. And it was a decent level of hockey. So then we have a junior B team here in Spokane, the Braves entering their 50th season, that play in the Kootenay International Junior Hockey League. The Braves are the only U.S. team. And then they play everywhere in BC.
Okay, so it's another one of the Canadian leagues then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, the Braves make it the international.
Oh.
Cool.
They're the I in the hockey league.
Exactly. They are a part of the league.
That's funny.
We used to have it was NORPAC, and then it went to the Northern Pacific Hockey League, and then they were a part of the UP3 for a season or two. But we used to have another Junior B or Junior A Tier 3, if you want to call yourself a junior player in that league. We used to have a team in Cheney, Spokane, but they actually played in Post Falls, Bizarre. They were there for one season. Tri-Cities, Wenatchee, Bellingham, Seattle, Bremerton. So there were a decent number in the state.
So it's crazy, like, you guys are in a state without an NHL team yet.
Yeah.
Coming soon. And it sounds like the game there is just crazy. Like, lots of hockey up there.
It's a lot bigger than most people think, but I mean, it's still.
Because when I think of the Pacific Northwest for hockey, at least in the U.S. side, I just think it's the Western Hockey League team in Spokane. Like, that's it. Like, that's all I have in my head. But obviously, you guys have a lot going on up there. So, like, your association, you said, like, Seattle does their own thing, and then the rest of the state is what you guys are? Or, like, how is that set up?
Our association, we cover 4 rinks. One out at Eastern. We have 2 sheets in Spokane, and then we cover Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene area in Idaho. They have a rink out there. And then Wenatchee and Tri-Cities each have their own officials association.
Okay.
But there's a lot of crossover if they need guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We're always good, but here and there they'll ask for some guys to come down.
And how many officials do you guys have?
I think we're right around 75-ish.
Okay. That's a pretty good number.
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
Because, like, in our area we have about 100, 120 down here. We got just enough to cover all the men's league games.
Yep.
Like
I schedule that for us in Spokane, and then we have a different guy that schedules for Post Falls. And this year was the first year that I felt very confident all season and only had.
How do you enjoy wearing that scheduler hat? I know that can get a little hairy sometimes.
The guys that I had this season were really good for me, and they appreciated me, which was really weird.
And then what to piggyback, like, what do you guys use for scheduling?
We use RefTown. A guy out of Portland, Oregon, I think, created it.
Okay.
So it's kind of something that really, there's only a couple associations, I think, that use it. But
okay, yeah, I was going to say, I've never heard of that one.
I love it. It's real easy for me to schedule out of.
Nice.
Import schedules and pay through it, 1099s through it. It's great.
Oh, perfect. So like for you, what are some good like highlights for what you've gotten to do as an official?
Yeah, so I started working juniors when I was 16. Just this chubby little 16-year-old out there.
That's pretty awesome.
Is that when you had the mullet
I
still?
didn't know what junior
Yeah,
hockey was. I didn't know what junior hockey was until I was like 18 or 19 years old. I'd never even heard of it. Like, but that's living down in Florida though. So I was like,
I don't know why I worked it when I was 16, but they gave me the shot, and I didn't miss a season since then. So, but
Isn't
yeah,
it the mullet?
I used to have slick back hair. The players loved it. It was almost to my shoulders.
oh man, that's awesome.
Right. He showed us a picture of Western Futures camp, and it was, during the anthem, and he's got his hair like shoulder length, slicked back, beautiful mullet, and just like
So
standing
just
there.
Some epic flow then.
He looked like he should have been playing.
So that was the last game of the Spokane Chiefs training camp that picture was at, and it was after that game that guy that supervises for him and then did some stuff for the junior B team or the league here and works with the association a bit. His son has made it through the program and is working the AHL and some NCAA stuff. But he pulled me aside after the game. He was like, "Hey, great job, whatever. Work on these things." And he's like, "Hey, if you want to do something with this, you need to cut the hair." That's the general manager asked me if I had a girl out there reffing this game. And I had to tell him that no, that's just a 17-year-old guy that doesn't want to cut his hair.
That's absolutely hilarious.
You looked good though, Headley.
It's funny though, like something like that, just like cutting your hair, like the whole appearance thing.
You gotta have the look.
Like, yeah, exactly. You gotta look the part. Like I try telling our young officials that, like when they first get started, and even some of our guys around here. It's like, man, when you get out there, you need to present yourself a little better. Like, it's perception is everything. Like, if you look like a clown, doesn't matter how good of a referee you are. But if you look put together, doesn't matter how bad you are, you at least look good doing it.
Yep. Always got to look good for the camera.
Ain't that the truth? Especially now that everyone's got a camera in their pocket. Anything stick out from like whether it be doing youth hockey or junior or just any like crazy moments like on the ice, like experiences, like funny stories?
That first year that I worked juniors, I had a line brawl, and it was so this team, the Cheney IceHawks, they played out of Post Falls because they couldn't get ice time at the Eastern Washington University rink that they wanted. And so they had 3 home games this weekend. So they played at 3 different rinks. So they played Friday afternoon at like 2:30 in Cheney. Mind that game. Cakewalk, nothing happened.
Okay.
Different team came into town Saturday. It was Valentine's Day. And they had anticipated this game to not go great. I think the last time they had played each other, there was a kid that ran a goalie and then a different kid that headbutted a kid later in the game. So
It'll be a great day today.
That's a great way to start.
We're going to 4-man this game. So I'm going, sweet. This is my first 4-man game. I'm lining it. Doesn't matter to me. This is awesome. 4-man in a game because we didn't 4-man anything then. And so, every whistle there's something going on. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Okay. And then all of a sudden, I think it was like second period, towards the end of the period, there's a weak hit behind the net. I mean, it wasn't even much of a hit. And all hell breaks loose. And all of a sudden, there's 2 guys going. I'm like, all right, we're good. We got to fight. And then all of a sudden, oh, no.
Here they come.
Here they come. And sure enough, and the way this rink is set up, there's a gate on the corner that goes to the locker rooms. So, we kind of get a couple separated, and then there's just like this pile of 5 kids just laying on each other, standing up, standing over them, beating the crap out of each other. And my partner's like laying down on the bottom of it, and I'm going, this isn't how this is supposed to look. What is going on? So I just grabbed 2 kids and like looked around and like, well, I don't know what else to do. So I just opened the gate and threw him out the gate.
Threw him off the rink.
And shut the gate. They just kind of stood there going like, wait, what? I turn around and everyone else is done. And I'm like, all right, sweet. So then I go skate over to the referees and they're like, hey, what were the numbers of those guys? And I was like, what? I don't know. We got 2 reps out here.
That's your job.
That is your one job here. We didn't get them. We didn't get their numbers. I was like, I don't know. Go ask. I'm not asking.
Oh my goodness. It's funny, like being a linesman, it's, stuff like that. You're like, well, what numbers were they? Like, I'm breaking up the fight. I'm more concerned with that. Figure out you can get
I was
the
almost
numbers.
making out with them. I can't see their numbers. Jeez. So then last season, 2 seasons ago now, I guess, we had a kid come in who's now working in the Western League as a linesman, worked the BCHL. Great kid, might make it somewhere. Mr. Kazari, his dad is the Kazari.
Okay.
And he comes in, junior B game, and my linesman and I worked it forever. And it's Spokane Nelson. It's a rivalry game. And we come in knowing this has great potential for a shit show. So I, did my pregame stuff, went through the research, pulled up the website, knew who to look for, because we don't get media packets in this. We don't get towels. We get a banana and a Gatorade. And we have to start nets almost every period. It's great. And so he comes in running a little late. It's his first time 3-manning a game with the Stripes. And we're like, what? It's like, I just 4-man everything. Oh, you're in for a treat then.
Oh, God.
So he just wasn't what he was expecting to come into. And then all hell breaks loose. We had a goalie get booted for a fight, fought a player. We had another goalie get tossed for something weird, a spear or something maybe. Like 174 or 182 penalty minutes in the first junior B game that he ever reffed. And he, at that point, was like, oh, nope, not coming back. Don't ever want to do that again. And we're like,
yeah.
Dude, it's the first time that's happened in years. And then he got his per diem check, and he's like, oh, no, I'll come back. That was decent.
Oh my God, that's unreal.
There's a good picture of me with my shirt up over my head in that one, trying to break up the goalie beating the crap out of a kid.
Them freaking goalies, man. You can never trust them.
I got aired out on Canadian radio after that. So,
oh, did you? That's fun.
Yep. The Nelson coaches were not a fan of me, but whatever. After the game, they shook my hand and they're like, hey, man, you really looked like you knew what you were doing out there, and we really appreciated your communication and everything. Like, this game could have been a lot worse without you out there. I was like, hey, yeah, thanks,
Yeah, and then the next day there.
And then I get some sound clips sent to me, and I'm like, whoa, what?
That's not what they said.
No. Yeah, so.
That's pretty amazing there. Working with guys, like I did a few games this year where guys were like, oh man, I haven't 3-manned a game in a month. I've been, doing the American League, and here I am in the East, doing an ECHL game. Like I got to remember how to 3-man. So like one guy last year or this past season, a couple of times, like, dude, it's 3-man. Like I had to remind him. It was cool. It's always fun working with those guys when they're like, oh, I'm out here by myself. I because a lot of what you see sometimes in 4-man is guys will sometimes turn into passengers.
Yep.
So going back to being working in 3-man, like, oh crap, I got to drive the car here, so got to skate hard and all that.
We have 2 guys in Spokane that work the AHL. One is a linesman, is a ref. Riley Bowles and Sean McFarland.
Yep, great. I know both of them.
Yep. So was it last season or the season before? McFly was back and he was working some of the Braves games before he left. So he worked for September.
Okay.
And so I made sure I got on the schedule to line with him for a couple, just because I never get to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden, so the way the rink is set up, there's benches on both sides, and the penalty boxes are next to the benches. The home side has the scorekeeper in between it. Bizarre. No other rink I've ever seen like it.
Wait, so is the visiting team on the opposite side of the rink?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I've worked in a couple of rinks that are like that.
So good luck ever trying to figure out what you're going to do for a line change procedure.
Oh, you turn one way,
You turn one
and
way
then you
the
turn
other.
around and face the other way.
So all of a sudden, he just comes flying down the middle of the ice like he is skating over center ice. I'm going, what are you doing?
Where are you going?
So we go in at the end of the period. I'm like, dude, why? Just why? It's like, I ain't going by those benches. Okay,
I mean,
it's like,
it works.
fastest way to the puck. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting working a sheet ice that's like that. When I was living in Mississippi, Mississippi State and Ole Miss would play. Well, Mississippi State specifically would play games in Tupelo, and they used to have a pro team there in the 90s, the Tupelo T-Rex, and their rink was one of those split bench rinks. And my first game doing it, I was like, how does this work? And then you figure it out, but it's definitely like you can't get away from either bench. You can't, I'm just going to skate on the opposite side. Like, especially, and when you're three-manning, if both teams change,
Yep.
There's nowhere to go.
Park yourself just inside the blue line and hope for the best.
Yep, exactly. Oh, man. With the changes that USA Hockey made for this year, so like the online seminars and all that, how do you feel about it, and what do you think? Do you see any challenges for you guys as an association?
No, I think our association will be fine. If anything, it might help numbers.
Yeah.
Not having
It's going to help your level 4 numbers, not having a skating test.
Yeah, RACs are going to have a great time this year trying to figure out who they're taking to districts and nationals, because there's going to be a lot of level 4s.
Yeah,
That includes you too,
I'm actually excited to see how many guys this year go for it, just because there isn't a skating test. Like, because usually it's your level 3s have been level 3s forever.
Yep.
They're just like, I'm just gonna stay level 3. But we have a few guys here that go to level 4 every year, even though they know they're probably not going to pass the skating test, but they want to go and get that better seminar. So that's why they come to the level 4. And hopefully out of what comes out of this is moving forward, we'll get more of those guys that want to come to the level 4 seminar, even though they might not necessarily pass the skating test, but they'll realize that, it is a better. No, I mean, it's not any better, but I feel like the information shared and all of that, like,
information.
Yeah, the level of thought that goes on in a level 4 seminar is a little different than, like a level 2 or a level 3.
Yeah, this would have been the first year I could actually skate for the level 4 test. The last 2
Oh, yeah?
out injured. It's been great.
Well, stop getting injured.
Wow, you're telling me. One summer I had a hole in my toe, and the other,
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't tie my skates because my ring finger had 13 stitches in it or something like that.
Oh wow, okay. So they're not like hockey related injuries or anything like that.
No.
No. So
One was summer
it's
job.
not like you said, I took a puck to the face or to the leg, or I got skated over. No. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hey,
What,
we're all gonna pass the closed book this year, right?
I hope so.
Because I failed it by 3 years in a row.
By one question still.
Oh,
Well, I always have a problem with the open book test. Like, I always fail it the first time. Like, I never pass it the first time I take it. It's
have you
kind
tried
of
opening
embarrassing.
your rule book or?
No, I do like taking it without the rule book the first time, just to see. Like, I shared, yeah, to see what I don't know.
13.
But like we talked to a guy, our interview yesterday. I was saying with him, like, there's a question last year on the open book test. It was defending team shoots the puck down the ice from their side of the red line, and it crosses the goal line. Where's the face-off? And I was like, that's icing. It's an end zone faceoff. I got it wrong. It was for center ice because it was a goal. It was such a vague, it was a vague description of where it crossed the goal line. It didn't say where it crossed the goal line. It just said it crossed the goal line. So that's one of those things, like, what? But, gotta love our tests.
The best.
Oh yeah, for sure. What else, for you moving forward, as I guess you're obviously in charge of your association, what are your goals there?
Grow numbers.
Yeah.
And then obviously grow numbers. I think that would be anyone's great answer there, Headley. But also we have some young kids that I see a lot of potential in that I want to push up. And then I also kind of want to redo the way that we look at scheduling and who we schedule and when we schedule them and why we schedule them. I think I worked 80% of the college games we had last year. And there's no reason for me to work that many.
No.
I mean, do I love it and the paycheck with it and that level? Absolutely. But there's other guys that should also be getting a split of it. And
yeah, it definitely gets to the point where you feel like it's like, man, I love doing all these games, but I can't do this forever.
Yep.
So we got to get new blood out here.
And it'll be interesting. I'm done with college now, so we'll see how much time I want to give to it. Maybe I'll find a real job, and this won't be my main source of income during the
week. Yeah. I'm currently living that life right now. I'm in school for cybersecurity at University of Tampa and reffing. That's it.
Typically it was great. The summers I'd work at the ballpark on the grounds crew, and then
there you go.
I'd transition to the other side of the parking lot, and I'd work at the county fair for the 14 or 10 days of that, and do some stuff out of their office. And
so do you officiate any other sports? That you just mentioned baseball?
I did. I umpired a fantasy game with all of our sponsors last season. But no, it was great.
That's the extent of your baseball officiating experience.
That was great. It was my brother and I, 2-man crew on it. He was doing cartwheels in the field to call guys out. It was great.
So were you calling balls and strikes, or was that the machine calling it?
I only got to ring 2 people up, though, because it was pretty much lob it in so they could hit it. But those 2 people, they felt bad about themselves.
That's awesome. Oh, man, that's great. That's great.
All right, well, I think that wraps up everything we wanted to talk about. Headley, if you have anything else you would like to add, any last stories?
I don't know. What do you want? What else? What do you have from Futures Camp? You give us one.
From Futures Camp? Man, I mean, I just remember rolling my ankle.
Okay,
hold on here. I was running downstairs, first off.
Okay, start with wake up. What was this whole day?
Our beautiful, 6 a.m. wake up? It was not fun. And then you had your PT, so we had a Chris Allman run. So we have
Chris Allman made you run?
Yes.
So
Allman's there, and he's like, hey, we're going to have it might have been 1.5-mile, 2-mile run. And I'm like, yo, this is not how I want to wake up every morning, first off. Second off, we're at high altitude, which I don't want to run in high altitude. So we're running. He makes us run down these stairs to go into the stadium. And at the bottom, it's like an uneven surface. So me just running along, twist my ankle, and I get up, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's twist ankle, you're fine. And, everybody's laughing at me, but it's a good time. So we go to breakfast. And I remember I couldn't walk on it, but I was like, we're fine, whatever. We go to class, and my ankle just balloons up. And so I take it to our camp director, who was, Ken Hadley?
Yep.
Yeah, so Ken, I go over to Ken. I'm like, hey, Ken, this isn't right. And he's like, okay. So we go see the trainer. She wraps me. And I'm like, they tell me I don't have to do power skating. I was like, sweet, because power skating was not power skating. It was a bag skate for 1.5 hours. That's a whole nother story. We're not going to talk about that. So day goes on, and my foot's not getting any better. Skate doesn't fit, so I'm like, okay, I can't skate tonight. Go to the doctor just to make sure nothing's broken. So I'm sitting in the doctor, like we do x-rays, and I'm sitting in the doctor's office, like in the hospital, and doctor walks in, he's like, oh, so how'd you do it? And I was like, well, I was running and I there was some uneven surface and I fell. And dude looks me square in the eyes and he's like, yeah, you don't look like a runner. And I was like, gee, like, thanks for that. Really needed that right now. And so the unfortunate part is, I mean, it was like a high ankle sprain or something. So it wasn't broken, but it was close. And so I had to miss the rest of camp. Well, I mean, I still sat there and made sure every boy heard me. But, I mean, I only got you guys in trouble, I think, once, right, Headley?
I think so.
With our silent lunch.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
So another good story from that camp is we told the camp instructors, like 3 other instructors, to come sit with us at lunch. And so we're sitting there, and there's, I think, 12 of us at this camp? Participants? 16?
something like that.
Yeah, so there's a good number of us, and we're just all, we're at lunch having a break and shooting the shit. And the camp director's like, we're kind of chirping them just a little bit. And me being me, I was chirping them the most because, like, they can't punish me. Like, I'm on crutches over here. And so they look at us, and they're like, you know what? Silent lunch. And so we're all like, okay, being like fifth graders, and we're kind of giggling. And there's a kid who he hadn't said much all of camp, and this is what, day 3 or 4?
Yeah.
And he hasn't said a whole lot all camp, and he just looks up and he's like, so how about this chicken, guys? The whole table just dies laughing. One of the instructors starts choking on his food because he's trying not to laugh. And the other instructor, he's like, you know what? You guys are getting bagged. And I start laughing even harder now because I'm not getting bagged. It's everybody else, and I'm the root of this problem. And so as they're getting bag skated, I'm sitting on the bench, and they're just getting bagged and bagged and bagged. The instructor comes over to me. He's like, so you caused this, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm fully aware. And he's like, you don't care? And I was like, no, it's absolutely hilarious. And he's like, you're an asshole. And then just skates away. And these guys are just like, I hate you, Ast. I hate you, Ast. I hate you. And I'm like, sorry, boys.
Oh, my God.
That camp was way too much fun.
On that note.
On that note, though, yeah.
All a good combination.
That was a great camp, though. I mean, like, I would strongly recommend, if you want to go to a futures camp, go. I mean, I met Headley there. I would have never met him anywhere else. Yeah. And I mean, like, we still, that was 3 years ago? 2 or 3?
3.
3 years ago now, and we all still talk constantly. I mean, we all have a group chat. We still talk. We still make jokes. I mean, like, it is honestly, it's a week of torture, skating-wise and hockey-wise, and it's a lot of work. I mean, there's classroom that goes involved. It's a ton of work, but the friendships you get out of it are exponential.
There's no air conditioning.
Oh, that was the worst. Yeah, 'cause thankfully we're in Colorado. I mean, we could have been down here, but they put us in Colorado, like right on their Colorado Springs campus. So I think it was Colorado State maybe. And they didn't have the AC on because it's middle of summer. And so, I mean, everybody was dying except for me and one other guy were from Texas. And we were like, oh, this isn't that bad. It's only 80 degrees outside, guys. Like, we're fine. But that was a great camp. I mean, I would recommend it to anybody. But with that, I think we're gonna wrap this up. Headley, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And have a good season.
Hey, same to you guys. Hopefully we start back up here soon, but we'll see.
Hopefully.
Let's hope.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
We hope you enjoyed that interview with Headley. I had a great time speaking with him. He's always a fun guy to be around. Ross, I think you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, it was nice to get to talk to him, ask him a few questions about what's going on up in the Pacific Northwest, somewhere that I've always wanted to visit on a personal side. But yeah, it's pretty cool seeing, or finding out and asking how different organizations run their shop.
Yeah, I think everybody can learn from something somebody else is doing. But I think with that, it wraps up today's episode. Ross, unless you have anything else to say.
Let's see. Everybody, keep watching hockey.
Please.
Keep enjoying it. If anyone wants to talk about any clips or anything that's been going on in the games, please feel free to hit us up on our Facebook page, the Ice Hockey Referee Facebook page that Team Stripes runs, or us on Twitter at Go Team Stripes. And then one more thing that we need to plug that I keep forgetting that we have to plug is check out the Team Stripes Academy.
100%.
Like, I keep forgetting, something we have to do. But yes, check out the Team Stripes Academy. It is the master class put on by the legendary Don Koharski. So please check that out.
And one more time, you can find us literally on all social media platforms. We have a Discord page. I don't know how to find that one. I think you just type in Go Team Stripes.
Yep. The Discord is pinned to the Ice Hockey Referee Facebook group. It's pinned at the top.
Perfect. And then we have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of them Go Team Stripes.
And we have Twitch as well.
Yes, we do. So,
which we will be planning another live Twitch stream here shortly.
Very shortly. So tune in every Tuesday. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode. And in between then, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out on any social media. We are always glad to talk. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.